Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is Dom, and anybody else get a little bit intimidated painting up German late war, Second World War tanks? Yeah, I do. So I look online and on YouTube and I see videos of people putting together the most amazing paint jobs for German Second World War tanks, or any kind of tanks for that matter. And the first thing they tend to do is they reach for their airbrush. I don't have an airbrush. They also have an awful lot more talent than I do. So I think, well, how can I get an acceptable level of detail and a tank that I'm pretty happy to put on the table that sort of approximates what German's Second World War late camo should look like. A bit like this fella. So I thought, I've got a few cheats that I use, little shortcuts I use to put this on the table as quickly as possible, but looks half decent in the process. So I thought I'd do a little video to explain how I do it, because maybe it'll be helpful to other people out there. So let's have a look. So yeah, I've seen loads of videos talking about doing camo and various other things on Second World War tanks, and there's some amazing painters out there. I'm not one. I don't have the patience. I just want to get the toys on the table, and I thought I might show people how I've been doing German late war camouflage, because I find it really. When I first started doing it, I was a little daunted because I don't have an airbrush. I don't really have the patience to get working on them. But over time, producing various tanks, I've sort of got a process down that works really well for me, and I thought some people might benefit from that. So, got here, this is the Warlords Italiari kit for Panzer IV. I think there's about 4 or 5 different versions of tanks in here. I've done one of the late war ones and made him up already. So there you go, he is made up. Done him with the Schitzen. Done him with the Schitzens. Done him with the Schitzens. And obviously turret detachable. So yeah, put him on the base because I like tanks on bases. Don't know why. It's only a small base, but it will help me in terms of durability, I think. So the first step in the process is I've got some plastic Soldier Company Army sprays. This is World War II Armour. This one is German Dunkelgelb, which you can see is a sort of, I guess, a sort of greeny yellow colour. So that's going to be my first port of call. I'm going to spray it outside in a well-ventilated room and make sure I get everywhere, particularly when you've got things like the Schitzens on. You need to get right in amongst it. So, and also I'm going to make sure the turret is done well. One thing to point out, I did put some extra stowage on the back of the tank just to sort of personalize it a bit. I think these are Rubicon German tank stowage. I just had a box, so I just made some bits up and have stuck them on there. So there's a box of shells, there's a petrol camp, and a bedroll of some sort on the back. So I will go and spray this outside, and I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Right, so there you go. The undercoat's applied. Made sure it got absolutely everywhere. Good coverage. Yeah, so we've got that really strong base to the tank. Same with the turret. As I say, with the Schutzen, it's a little bit tricky to get in amongst the into here, but you just got to really make sure you're directing the stream, so to speak. So next up, we're going to apply the first bit of camo. Now, bear in mind, and I know people get very, very excited about different types of camos that the Germans or any other army used during the war, but my reading of this is it was largely applied by the crews with a broom or a mop. So, you know, kind of it wasn't perfect by any means. And I've tried lots of different methods to try and simulate that. And the best one I found is this. So this is a makeup brush, just a cheap one I picked up from one of the, I don't know, Boots or one of the other pharmacy type shops. Cost about £1, I think, maybe, something like that. And it's got really soft, but you see, domed
bristles there. I find it actually a little bit too soft for a lot of the dry brushing I use it for, but it's absolutely perfect for this. So, because to me that's sort of like a mop or a broom in the hands of a poor old squaddy who's trying to, you know, colour up his, camouflage up his tank. So they come out the factory, I believe, well, initially, part of the war anyway, just like that, basically. So I'm going to apply, first of all, green. So this, I'm using US dark green from Vallejo. You can use others. I think anything that's a fairly dark green is a good option. Let's put some on my palette over here behind the camera. This is always difficult to paint around a camera, so I don't do it too often. Now, so I got a brush, we just dunk it in the bristles. Now, normally, if I was dry brushing, I would rub as much of that off as I can, but I'm not going to. Now, I haven't completely waded in, I've just sort of put a decent splodge on the end, and that just allows me to just go like this and apply it in sort of random, is that showing up? Yeah. Random methods around the wheels and the edges of the Schutzen. So there you go, like that. Now bear in mind we're going to have to put another colour on there, so you don't want to cover every inch of it because it's a camo. It's supposed to break up the flat patterns. So we're just going to finish off doing this. So I'll probably fast forward this with some silly music. So there you go. So it's a balance. You don't want to put it on so it's absolutely slathered on, but you want to make sure that there's a decent coverage. See what I mean? So I haven't done the box or the other bits of accoutrements on the back of the tank, but what I am going to do is just put the turret back on for a minute, just to see where the camo lines up, because it would make sense that they continue. So like there. There, there, probably that's it. So now I'll take the turret off and just do the same with that. I just find that if it's, it's hard to hold this, especially around the camera. I just feel that they should sort of line up roughly. Also going to do a little bit of the barrel. Like that. And I just find this sort of makeup brush just applies it in a nice way without coming over too heavy. Finito. Can't put the turret back on, but there you go. So there you go, that's the first stage done. So now you don't really have to wait for it to dry for the next stage. My biggest problem is I've only got one of those makeup brushes, so I need to make sure that's nice and dry before I continue with the next stage. So we'll just, I'll have a pause, you won't. Right, I think my brush is nice and clean and dry. So next up I'm going to use this, another Vallejo. This is mahogany brown. Again, doesn't have to be this specific colour. I just kind of like the contrast between the green and this brown. But if you look at imagery I've seen of camo, it can be anything from a really chocolatey brown to quite a pale brown. So again, you know, people do have long discussions about what colour they actually did use, and I'm sure there's a swatch reference and God knows what else, but life's too short. So same process as with the green. I'm going to get my makeup brush here, put a little bit on the ends, and I'm just going to dab it in like so. Cue the music. There you go. That is the first stage, well, second stage, I guess, after the base coat done. And I think, bear in mind to say, people get very het up about this, but at the end of the day, these guys applied them with brooms and brushes and mops and so forth. So they weren't accurate. It wasn't absolutely perfect. And that's what I'm trying to simulate here. So that's that. Going to let that dry thoroughly, and then we'll be back for the next stage. Right, so that's all dried now. I think it's come out all right, actually. Good colours. Yeah. So the next thing I'm going to do is the tracks. So obviously the tracks all the way around, plus not forgetting where the crew have put a bit of extra track to provide a bit of extra protection to the tank. So for that, I'm going to use this Vallejo steel colour. Now steel would suggest it's quite shiny. It's not. It's almost like a really dark, really dark black almost. So if I just, oops, God, painting me on cameras is always hard work. So just slop it all over, getting into the track there. Don't have to be too accurate because we're going to cover a lot of this up with mud, glorious mud. So I'll just do all this, and then we'll be back for the next stage. Right, so the gunmetal around the tracks is done. I haven't gone really heavy on it because I'm going to put a wash over there, which will obscure a lot of it. So I've also done the edge of the spare running wheels here, and various places on the hull. You've got bits of equipment, like there's an axe there. So I've just done the bit of the blade showing. There's some sort of spanner or wrench or something there, which I've done. There's another steel pole there, which I've done. Just picked those out. I also did the radio antenna at the back. Not that that's going to last long in game combat because they always break off, don't they? And while I was doing all that, I then also filled in the box, the ammunition box on the back, just using I think that was one of the contrast paint. I forget now which one. I've also done the petrol cans there. There's another one there and another one there. I did them with the sort of a green contrast paint, and then I also did the this canvas bag extra that's put on the back, just with I think I did deck tan with that. So that's pretty much done. Now what I'm going to do next is give it a damn good wash. So I'm going to get out my trusty Agrax Earthshade and give that a really good shake up. Oh, that was the contrast I used for the jerry cans. So yeah, first of all, I'm going to get Agrax just straight out the bottle with a reasonable size brush. And I'm just going to go all the way around the tracks and the running wheels quite heavily, just to sort of dull down what we've just done. Get right in amongst the wheels there, like so. If it splashes on the skirting there, on the Schutzen, I'm not going to mind at all. It's really just about getting a decent coating on this vehicle. Also down in amongst the running wheels there on the inside. And we'll just do the lower side. Basically, I want it to look like that's where it's got dirty from all the stuff being kicked up as it's driving down the road. There you go. So that is that done. Give the brush a bit of a clean. Ugh. A little slurp of coffee. Right. Next up, we've got the other Citadel wash. This is non-oil. Again, give it a good shake. Now, I'm not going to use this one completely neat. I'm going to probably water it down to 4 parts wash to 1 part water, thereabouts, somewhere in that sort of order. I've just got behind the camera because otherwise I'll knock the camera over. I've got the got my little plate. Put some water on that. Give that a good stir up. There we go. And now I'm going to go over everything like this. I'm going to try and not let it pull too much, but if it does a bit, that's fine. It'll just be dirt. I also want to make sure it comes down the seam lines there on the Schutzen. Sorry, dishwasher's going in the background. Don't know whether you can hear that. Apologies. Dangers of trying to video during the day. So I'm just going to cover the whole of the vehicle with this. Well, the bits I haven't done with the brown. Trying to get right in amongst the Schutzen there. Schutzen. Get right in there with the brush. So try not to let it pull too much, but if it does, so be it. And we'll also do the box, also that bag, and all the extra accoutrements we've put on the tank, like so. So I will do this and then do the turret, and I'll be back once it's dried. Right, that's all done. And also while I was there, I did the leather straps on the blanket here. What else to do? Oh, and the wood of the hilt, or the handle of the axe that's on the side there. Just did those in just a normal wood colour. Next up, I'm going to dry brush this thing. So I've got my makeup brush here. It's a really soft, fluffy one, this one. And taken most of the I'm using deck tan, and taken most of it off. So I'm just going to give it a very gentle dry brush, just to get almost like a dusting on it, like this. My tip on dry brushing a tank is start with the tracks, because if you get a bit too much on there, it doesn't matter. It just looks like dust and dirt. So you can judge how much you've got on your brush by starting down there. And then just work up the whole. Okay, we'll do the turret as well. that's him pretty much done. So, oops. Next up, I'm going to get a brown wash. For this, I'm going to use the this is AK Interactive's Deep Shade. This is pure grime. But you could use, I guess you could just use Agrex Earth Shade again, or one of the Army Painter ones. And all I'm going to do with this, with a pretty old brush, is do some streaks occasionally. Just like that, then rub it. Put some around the wheels, like so. There we go, just like that. I'll put some on the turret as well. Oops. Just make sure I'm getting some on the brush because that pot's quite empty. Yeah, just sort of down the hinges is always a good thing, like that. Maybe around the hatch. The edge of the gun here. And I think round these sort of supports a good place for a bit of grease and grime that's accumulated. The vision slit, that sort of place. Machine gun port, maybe. There we go. That's that. Just give that a brush a wash. Now I'm going to go back to the Nantes oil. And I'm basically just going to work it into where, like the engine parts here. So there's a, not engine, exhaust part here. I'm just going to let that, see, there's quite a lot on there, but I'm just going to let it pool around this exhaust. I think this is at the back here. Going to do the same. And around this, where the tracks hinge, meet the inside of the tracks there. Just going to splodge that on. Same on the front. I want the dirt effect. A lot of this is going to be covered up anyway with the mud at the end, but yeah, that'll do. And the other one I do like to do is on the barrel of the gun. Actually look it like it's been fired occasionally. Sort of looks like a sooty look. And there you go. That is it for the moment. So we'll let that dry before we're back for putting on, well, in fact, now what I'll do in the meantime is put some decals on, and then I'll be back once they're fitted and dry and the tank's dry, and then we'll do the final stage. Right, there you go. All the dry brushes dried, all the extra washers have dried, put the transfers on, they've dried now as well. I think the model looks all right. You know, it's not going to win any prizes, but it gets it on the table nice and quickly, and it looks good. So to finish it up, I'm going to get out my trusty Vallejo mud. This is the thick mud, European thick mud, which I love. I think this is brilliant stuff. All you do is just get a load on a blunt. This is an old butter knife, and I'm going to just work it. I'm going to start at the ends, take the turret off, and just work it into the gaps here, just covering the base up. If you've ever seen a tank running, their tracks just cut up the ground like you would not believe. So slapping mud all over it has a double function of making it look like it would do, but also hiding stuff. I'm all about hiding the inaccuracies. Right, so I think that's as good as we can go with that. I've got an old brush here, so I'm going to just get it on, and I've got loads of it on the paint here, and just work it down the edging here, in amongst the tracks. Now, what you need to do is focus on where, if you were seeing the track, if you were seeing a tank run, it would be kicking up mud. So that's what we're going to do, is try and show the areas that you would expect mud to collect, which is like under that mud guard there, down the back here, between those wheels there. A little bit would be up on the side here. It could just do it a little bit over the emblem there to hide it. Definitely up the back. Back is where most of it's going to spray up. So we're just going to whack it all over here. If you've had any problems with the joins on the tracks, this is a really good time to hide them. The base on this one is very snug. Usually have a bit more of a rim there, so I would paste it down there, but obviously this one I couldn't find a base big enough. There you go. Now if you want to, you could sort of put bits where it's sort of like maybe the crew have climbed up, and put a little bit on the actual tank itself. I don't want to go too OTT with that. So that is that. Now again, if I had a bigger base on this sucker, I would probably put a few tufts around underneath and what have you, and just put it in while the Vallejo mud is just drying. But I haven't, so I'm not. Then I'm going to just quickly get, this is Wildwood contrast paint. Where's that other paintbrush? There we go. Get this one. And I'm just going to go down the edge of the base. Just so it blends in a bit better. There you go. And that's the little sucker done. And I've only broken the antenna once, so that's a pretty good result, I reckon. So I'm going to let that dry thoroughly, and then I'll do some close-ups and you can have a better look at the end result. And there we go. There is the Panzer IV finished. And it's come out all right. Just a bit of weathering. Nice simple camo. Mud adds something, I think, to it. Yeah, very happy with how that came out. So you can see, you know, it's not going to win you any prizes at whatever the painting competitions are, but it's certainly going to give you a tank that sort of looks roughly right on the table pretty quickly. And for me, as you know, that's the most important thing. So I thought I'd do this quick video. I hope it was helpful to some people. If it was, please like, subscribe, share. If there's anybody out there that sort of has an alternative shortcut or two that would improve the results, let me know. You can spend days, on weeks even, on making these tanks absolutely beautiful. So for me, they're toys to get on the table, so I just want them to look, you know, pretty reasonable, and I'm happy to use them, and that's what I find with this. So that's my technique. So let's say hopefully some people find it useful. Anyway, I hope you did. If you did, please give it a like, share, and subscribe, and do all that good funky YouTube stuff. And I will see you again soon. This is Dom signing out.